Welcome to the ProAgent Podcast, where we're either interviewing top real estate agents nationwide or breaking down the industry's best business strategies. I'm your host, Chris Hardy Jr., real estate entrepreneur. Join us as we explore the mindset, skills, strategies, and execution it takes to perform at the highest level in the industry. Welcome to the ProAgent Podcast. Today we have Alex Hunter, Ashley DIEP, and Stephan Berry, three agents with ProAgent that are starting the year insanely strong. We're going to talk all about what they're doing to get the kind of success that they're currently getting. Alex Hunter, start us off. How long have you been in the business?
5 years now.
5 years in the business. Ashley DIEP?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. Stephan Berry?
5 months.
5 months. So some good differences on the time that you've been in the brokerages or been at a brokerage or been in the business. I'll start off with Stephan Berry because he's 5 months in. How does it feel coming in? And we're going to talk about how strong you're coming into the year, but how does it feel coming into 2024 in the first 10 days of January so freaking strong?
It feels fantastic. We set a lot of goals for ourselves for this year. First of all, quick shout out to Erica, my life partner and business partner. We set really high goals for ourselves and are dedicated to push ourselves to the limit. So to start it off the way we did it, everything seems feasible, and I think we're going to smash our goals. So.
Very hopeful, huh?
Very hopeful.
Ashley DIEP, what about you? You're coming in 2.5 years in the business, probably coming into a year as strong as you've ever came into one. How does it feel?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what I can do, but it definitely feels like you gotta run and you gotta keep sprinting. It's not a marathon, it's a sprint marathon.
Yeah,
So that's what
sure.
it feels like. Can't stop.
No doubt, especially when you're trying to build a lot of momentum, right?
Yeah, you gotta keep it going.
Alex Hunter, what about you? 5-year veteran in the business. You have a very good track record the last several years of selling a really good amount of real estate. I know you have huge goals coming into this year. You're coming in hot as well. How is it feeling?
Feels amazing. I really, as a dream, wanted to take 10 listings this month, and having taken 4 and we're a third of the way through the month, I'm feeling very confident, positive, and as if this is possible, which is huge and amazing, especially because I've never taken 10 listings in a month before, or even 4 so soon into the first month of the year.
Man, it's solid, right? And so, coming into 2024, you've came in with 4 listings.
Yes.
Ashley DIEP, how many listings do you have in the first 10 days of the year?
I have 3 listings.
You have 3 listings. Stephan Berry?
Got 4 so far.
4 listings.
go.
Ashley DIEP, get back to work.
It's
what are you
time.
doing
Gotta
on this
get back. I
podcast?
gotta go.
You got
Bye,
4 and
guys.
4? No, I'm kidding.
A leader.
I'm kidding. Well, Stephan wouldn't do any of those if he didn't have Erica. So,
true.
that's
It's true.
the thing, right? She'll love to hear that.
It's a 100% truth.
That is for sure. So I wrote down some really powerful questions. We're going to try to get through as many of these questions as possible. We want the people that are listening and watching this to get as much gold from it as possible. And I'm going to start off with Alex Hunter on this. Alex, what took place that has you coming into 2024 different than any other time in your past?
I would say there are 2 different things. One is, after seeing what 2023 did to so many real estate agents, lenders even, and other real estate adjacent professionals, and seeing how in 23 I had some fumbles, I had to work harder, I got discouraged, I lost steam and kept having to pick myself up over and over again. Coming into 2024, after, I guess, feeling like I'd been put through the ringer, I feel like coming into this year, I'm just not thinking about any of that stuff. I just went, here's a mathematical equation. If I have 10 listings active at all times, then I for sure will be closing 3 every month or more.
At minimum.
At minimum.
No doubt. Well, I think that if we go back and we had so many conversations back in 2023, and you're absolutely right. It's like you're constantly trying to pick yourself up. There's a commitment level that's on right now that I haven't really seen before. I haven't seen in a long time. And when you make that big commitment, it kind of takes away the weight of having to go like, man, is this going to work out? Is this even going to happen? And, am I going to get back stuck in my head on some negative things? Or do I just spend all my energy on taking massive action?
And that was going to be the number 2 that I was going to say, commitment and discipline.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more committed, and I'm still working on my discipline, but I'm a lot more disciplined so far, even just throughout these last 11, 12 days than I had been probably all of 2023.
No doubt. Now, it's a lot different when you're doing these things by yourself versus when you have people around you. How do you, what do you feel about, because we don't have like negative competition in our organization. It's very positive. People can go on the same listing appointment. They help each other out. They talk the other agents up. It's like, it's amazing, right? Do you feel that there is like a real benefit to having so many people around you focused on the same things so that you can't BS yourself so easy?
Yes, especially going into this month, being part of one of our accountability groups and seeing other people in my group taking as many, taking 3 listings already, 4 listings already, seeing people in the other groups taking 3 or 4 listings, seeing that there are multiple people in the office who are doing just as well as I am or better is such a huge motivator for me to up the ante.
That's big. AD, Ashley Deep, the one and only.
Sir.
What took place that has you also coming into 2024 different than you have at any other time in the past?
I think towards the mid of 2023 is where I started gaining more momentum towards the end. And then like this year, I don't even have to figure things out. Like I know what it takes to win. So now I have a game in place. I'm just going to do it. I don't have to question anymore. I'm just going to go all in. And I think that's really where it took off.
What happened middle of last year? Because I remember what was going on. And I even told you, I'm like, something switched. I told everybody, something switched in AD. And I think AD by nature is probably analytical at times.
Very analytical, yeah.
And so it's all of this, like, why is it going to not work out? Or is this going to pay off? Is this, what's going on?
Is it happening?
Yeah. Do
Let's
I deserve
try
it?
this.
Am I worthy of this? Because that's a big thing too, right?
Am I worthy of, for success? Yeah, I have a lot of self-doubt, like, especially back in the day. And it's like, let's try this. Let's not listen to Chris. Let's try this way. That didn't work. What is he talking about? Yeah. And like when it started working, it is really just, you hit your numbers, you get it. There's nothing to think about. You just do it. So now it's like I have numbers that I have to hit. Once I hit it, I'm gonna get it. So I don't have to think about it. I'm just gonna do it.
I love it. Now, when you hear Alex say, hey, if I can have 10 listings at a time, enough of them are going to be selling. My clients are going to be happy. I'm going to be successful. Do you kind of have that same mindset, like I need to build up as much inventory as possible versus having one listing at a time? And then it's almost like if you have one listing, you already know, like, the universe doesn't allow things to go the right way.
Yeah, things might just fall through. But I'm really glad he has that experience because I kind of have an idea, like, if you have a certain amount of listings, there's going to be a certain amount that sells per month. But now that he told me that, that's his experience. Now that I'm like, okay, it's time to get like 10, 11, 12 at all times. Yeah. So I know things are going to close for me, like to that extent, 2 or 3 listings per month. Because I'm not exactly there 1 per month, but 2 or 3, that's where I would like to be there too.
No doubt about it. And well, you're in the position right now to even do better than that, right? And so, coming into the year, most people, the worst income or the lowest period of income in the year is that very end of the year, beginning of the new year. And so right now you're really building that inventory to sell over not just the first quarter, but possibly even to the second quarter as we get into February and March, right? And so that's something that we have to focus on is building out. I know, like, for example, ProAgent Group could take a ton of listings. Does that mean all those listings are going to sell in the next 30 days? So how would I be if I'm like, okay, we took so many listings, they're all going to sell in 30 days. No, you know that like a fraction of those are going to sell. Depending on where those the home is located in that geo market, the average home in that area priced at a certain price point may sell in 4 minutes. Maybe it sells in 4 weeks. Maybe it sells in 4 months. You have to educate yourself and your client on like the time frames. And if you want to speed that time frame up, we can drop the price more because that's what's going to do that, right? But in some areas, it's just like they take 70 days to sell. But the thing is, most agents need that check today, and that's where the desperation comes in. Stephan Berry, what about you? What have you had to leave in the past? You've only been doing this for 5 months, right? You've been doing this for about 5 months, and you're in a position where you're learning very quickly. However, what have you already realized, hey, I got to leave in the past in order to do what I want to do this year?
The first thing I realized was my definition of going all in was bullshit, just straight up. So whenever 2024 was getting ready to kick up, me and Erica, we made a commitment that, if we're going to make this thing work, we're going to have to really fully go all in. And I think with that mindset, I've still got a lot to learn. I've still got a lot to improve on. And, I don't feel like I'm 100% committed yet. So I'm really excited to see whenever I finally hit that switch like Ashley did last year, what it's going to look like. But, to come into 2024 so strong, it really validates the way we were feeling about going into this, and it makes everything seem possible. So extremely excited to kick it into the next gear and just keep this momentum rolling.
Oh yeah. Well, you have a lot of responsibility. You know, unlike these two, I know they have some fur babies, right?
course.
But you have a human fur baby, and you have a wife, right? And I know, you know, having a wife, having a child, getting into a commission-based business, both of you have skills in trades where you're able to, like, literally, you guys could put a house together, you could renovate, you could do those things. And you know, you both are the kind of people that are like, we'll do whatever it takes to make the buck and be able to move the needle forward. And the beautiful thing is that, like, a lot of that labor is going to showcase a lot when you're working with your clients because you have that experience. But also you realize, hey, I can't make a ton of money being the person working on a house all the time. I got to be the one selling these houses, right? And then now that you're getting success selling the houses and you're taking the listings, now it's just like, it's just putting more momentum into the process of, like, believing into it, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, the great thing about meeting these people and getting on these phones is, you know, I'm able to double dip on a lot of these clients because a lot of people need work done on their house, and we're able to help them out with that. And we, you know, working with clients, you know, we give them a good deal. They're happy with the work that's being done. They're happy with the price that we're giving them, and we're getting their hot property sold. So it's just it's a win-win-win. It's all around.
No doubt. And talk about one thing to highlight with Stephen and Erica is that it's really fun when you get in the beginning of your business, in the beginning of your real estate career, and you find a client that has more than one property to sell.
Yeah.
So what's
very nice.
what's the most listings so far you've gotten from one person?
So far is 5.
5. What's the ROI on that call? All right, so Alex, I'll get with you on this question first. What are the key actions you're taking on each day that's getting you the momentum needed to accomplish all of your goals here in 2024? What are those things every day that, like, I got to do in order to be successful?
Those key actions, number one is prospecting, making sure I hit at least 30 contacts every day. Another one is working on my skills, both through going to our breakfast club and then doing various role plays throughout the day with other agents, whether it's stuff on the phone. I usually focus on, you know, listing presentation and objections who I got as leads, which I've noticed in the past I've lost a tremendous amount of business just from not talking with people who just seemed maybe a little unenthused, or maybe they just weren't quite ready yet, or maybe I just let them through the cracks because I didn't think our initial call was that great. And now I'm making a point that even if our initial call wasn't that great, even if they didn't seem that enthused, if they have a need, I'm going to keep following up with them and figure that out.
Yeah, what a great point. At some point, they're going to list a property again. And I'd imagine, like, what percentage of your calls right now are, like, to expired listings?
So I'm calling both I always call the ones that just come off, but then I also call some various older ones. I would say probably about 30%.
30%.
Yeah.
30% is fresh expireds, or 30% is all expireds?
All expireds, because I also call my COI, I call past clients, which I've accumulated a lot of those over the years. I have a pretty decent sized COI. I call for sale by owners. I call around the listings that I've taken.
Perfect. So it's really about 4 or 5 different pillars.
Yes.
And with a lot of those leads you're talking about, when we're speaking about expire, it's for sale by owners. At some point, either they're going to relist it or they're going to be hiring an agent because it's not going to work out, right? And so if we're buying into, like, our emotions versus the logic aspect of things, what happens is that when a call's not so exciting, you feel weird calling them back. But maybe they're different on the next call. Maybe their personality is not your bubbly personality as well. And to them, that was them being super enthusiastic, but you're like, oh, that person seems kind of dead, right? But however, what takes place is that we end up getting in a position where we see that property listed with somebody else and you go, there was something there, but did I really work on it to uncover what was there?
Yeah, evidently there were so many times when I did not try hard enough to get further with that person because that person was just a little bit stale.
Yeah, for sure. Ashley, what about you? What are the main actions you're taking on each and every single day to just confirm everything you want out of the business this year, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I have to be a professional athlete or something. Like, every day has to be perfect. And when you're like, you should do 80% of what your to-do list every day, I feel like it has to be almost 100% to have a really perfect day, which is wake up, get my body moving, and then role playing to make sure I'm primed for the phone calls, making sure I get at least 1 or now 2 appointments every day. Then making sure that those appointments don't fall through because I'm not following up with my people, right? Because you try so hard to get these appointments and then you don't even follow with them later and it falls through the cracks. Now I'm like blocking my blessings, you know?
No doubt about it.
So I got to follow up with them. And then after that, you want to, I need to get better at doing the listing presentation because that's where you practice how you play. And then when you get in front of them, you don't want to fumble.
That's right.
So then and then by the time, you know, it's 5-6 p.m. and I have to get home, get ready, and make sure I'm primed for the next day.
Hell yeah. So one of your big key things is you really enjoy working out in the morning as well. I know you do some walking, you do some working out in the morning as well. I think a lot of agents, you know, can utilize that. What do you think the working out does for you the most in the morning versus like, because there's been times where you've tried to do it in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
There's times where you do it in the morning. You fought with me on that kind of stuff.
I did.
What's the benefit to you of just making that decision to take the head on in the morning versus doing it at 3 in the afternoon?
Yeah, it was just so hard waking up, and that was part of the problem. Me telling myself that.
Alex knows that problem.
Very much. Still struggling, working every day.
Yeah, now I just roll. Okay, let's get up. But it makes a big difference. The days I don't get my workout in the morning, already like I'm groggy in the Breakfast Club. But if I
Yes.
work out, I'm primed for role playing before the Breakfast Club, and then in the Breakfast Club, I'm like, let's go, throw me an objection, let's go. You know,
Is that Ashley Deep or is that like 550 milligrams of caffeine?
that is a workout caffeine.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I love that feeling though. So.
well, I think for a lot of us, if you wake up in the day and you make it one of the hardest, you know, objectives to go through, which is just go lift some heavy ass shit and get that heart pumping, you know, doing some role play ain't that big of a deal,
Right.
you know, and making some calls is not that big of a deal. The problem is that if we're fighting doing anything that's going to move the needle for us, we're not probably going to do that good when we actually take action in those things. You know what I mean? Stephen, what about you? What are you finding are, you know, clearly a lot of these are going to be very similar or exactly the same. I want to reinforce the fact that there's a reason why 3 of you could come in the first 10 days of the year, take 3 listings, 4 listings, 5 listings, and then finish this month with 5, 6, 10 listings possibly. It's going to be because you're taking, you know, massive action and you're being an active agent versus a passive agent who's waiting for somebody to call them. What are the things that you're making sure that you do each and every single day to get this thing going?
So the first thing that I'm making sure that I do each and every day is really goes down to the calls, is just calling with intent. You know, I know you talk about it and you preach it a lot. And, you know, as I'm getting along with the real estate process and getting more, you know, into my own as a real estate agent, I'm noticing the things that I'm lacking. I'm noticing the things that I'm missing when I'm talking to people, the questions that I should be asking that I'm not getting information on. So truly for me, it's just the intent part of it is the biggest thing for me. And of course, getting up early enough to participate in the Breakfast Club. I'm trying to be more proactive in it, trying to get my role play and skills up. And, you know, being a family guy, having the kid at home, I don't have a whole lot of time in the afternoons to, you know, work on my skills. So, you know, I've started getting a schedule with Ashley and Chris, a couple of people to get on the phones, even though we missed it this Thursday. But, you know, just time management is probably the number 2 for me, is just making sure that I manage my time in a way that makes sense for the chaotic life that I'm going with.
No doubt, no doubt. You know, talking to one of our agents yesterday, newer agent, he's going to do a great job. I'm hearing what he's saying, and a lot of times when you're a newer agent or you're not in the right mindset, like fully right mindset, you put a lot of blame on the people, right? You go, well, these people are behaving a certain way when I reach out to them, or they're not answering, or this is taking place. It's always this outer thing that's going on. It's when you start looking within yourself and making the massive changes is when they start making a massive change in how they react to you, right? Even the idea of people like everybody's scared of prospecting because they think somebody's either going to cuss them out or hang up on them. When you get really good, you don't really get hung up on as much. Nobody's really cursing you out like people say they are. But I do know that when agents are starting off, there is this lack of authority, lack of confidence. Their mindset hasn't really accepted that this is what they're going to get really good at. And that first 2 seconds on a phone call can be weak enough for somebody to just go click, especially if they've had 20 agents call them today if their home expired. They're looking for that person that could outshine everybody. Those things that you're talking about create that authority, creates that confidence, because you can't do that hard shit each and every single day and not get tough and showcase why you're the right agent, right? And so if we had to, guys can be like kind of the nod or agree on this. It's pretty much going, hey, I got to wake up early. I got to probably do some working out, at least if you're Ashton. I know that you do that as well. We need to get Stephen meeting AD at the gym maybe with Jose. That'd be great. But even before we have our Pro Agent Breakfast Club at 7:30, which is, where Chad Cooley just goes crazy helping you guys work on objection handling and closing for appointments for 30 minutes, most of our agents in the Pro Agent group will hop on and make calls with each other at 7 o'clock and role play before the role play at 7:30. That's that shit. That's that Kobe shit. 2024, year Kobe, right? That's that Mamba year. Man, that guy would show up to practice before practice. He stayed after practice, right? And that's the kind of mentality it's going to take for you to take 5, 6, 7, 8 plus listings each and every single month if that's what you want to accomplish, right? So the next question I have on here is, how are you guys finding that? Let me repeat that. How is Pro Agent playing a part in your business right now that you feel is propelling you farther versus if you were doing anything different? I'll start off with Alex.
Well, for one, all the support we have in the office, also being part of one of the accountability groups, I feel is a huge part that's motivating me to continue doing this, because when you're checking in on your goals in the morning, when you're participating in the breakfast club, when you're doing your role plays, you're checking in, midday, you're checking in end of day, if I'm going to be part of something like that, the last thing I want to do is report that I've done nothing.
Yes. You don't want to be the person that is just not taking any action and is almost like hopeless.
The dud.
Yeah. And it should force some competitiveness when other people are saying, hey, man, I want to be in an accountability group with people that have a winning mentality. They're going to think bigger for themselves. I want to achieve better and greater things each and every single month. It doesn't make you look good if you're like, oh, that's not cool. And there's people that think like that. They're like, I don't want to do those accountability groups. But then they're doing 4 deals in a year, 1 deal in a year, 2 deals in a year. And there's a responsibility that gets taken on when you do the accountability groups.
Yeah, and also just like for instance, when Stephen took 4 listings before I did, I immediately started calling all my hot leads and all my follow-ups going, no, I got to get another one in the bag right now. We're at least going to be neck and neck.
No doubt. I think in real estate, you have to create an island and get away from what everybody else in the industry is doing, but protect what's on your island if it has the same vision. So on our island, we just have all these like-minded people of different personality styles. You don't have to just be like some crazy outgoing, expressive person like me to be successful. We have amiables, analyticals, drivers, expressives, but with the common goal and just realizing I'm not going to bullshit myself. I'm going to put in the hard work and effort. Man, that's a really nice island to be on, right? So we got to get away. Is there anything else with Pro Agent that you're like, man, this is something that I'm utilizing every day?
Well, besides of course, the accountability groups, all the meetings we have, all the trainings we have, everything that we also have recorded, I'll go back and I'll listen to our meetings, or I'll listen to some things, especially in the Breakfast Club, because there's just such gold there.
No doubt.
We have so many resources that can be utilized to propel. I mean, I feel like being here, I have so many resources that I can utilize to constantly propel myself. And also, if I'm having a client issue, if somebody's, making something difficult, or if I just have a question, I know that I'm going to be able to ask you and Yolanda about it, and I'm going to actually get a prompt response on how to move forward, which is another thing that you'd be surprised how many brokerages don't really offer.
Well, I think the unfortunate part about most places is that the people, the mentors, the coaches, the leaders, unfortunately are usually not the people that actually sold a lot of real estate. And so it's either somebody who's had their license for a year, they sold 3 homes, now they want to run a team or be a mentor, and they're in this position where they may be working a full-time job, you don't even know it, and you're like, man, I need help on this deal. And when agents don't think they need help on deals, it's kind of crazy, because you're a seasoned agent, you sell a lot of houses, and we're talking all the time about the problems on a transaction and trying to solve them with each other. And then what's really good about Alex is Alex will take exactly what I'm talking about, take what I say and put it right into action, not overthink it. And he just believes in it so much. And it's beautiful how often it just works out. And he goes, fixed it, fixed it, fixed it. We talked about it the other day. This client, this client, this client, this client, this client, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then before you know it, it's like, oh, all the problems are solved. Let me get back to work. Versus feeling like, man, nobody's responding to me. Who do I go to? Or I'm not that confident in what my mentor or what the office manager told me, right? And so that's just kind of the way it is, right? AD, what about you? What do you feel like are the biggest parts of Pro Agent that are having a benefit to you right now?
I feel like it's having people who can see like who you can be more than even you like knew what your potential could be. Like you guys push me more than I could even think that I could go. I'm excited to meet the new version of myself. I don't know who she's gonna be, but she's gonna be a boss.
She's gonna be crazy. That's for sure.
Boss to me. I don't know yet, but I'll know for sure. That's because you guys have the experience and you could see what direction I should take. And I don't know what I don't know, and I need people like that around me.
Well, you're definitely practicing a lot of blind faith, and look at where it's getting you. Right? You're like the Sandra Bullock on the boat with the thing over her. It's blind faith, right? What about you, Stephen? You're 5 months in, and you've only been with Pro Agent as well, right? What are some of the main things about Pro Agent that's helping you do what you need to be doing?
The biggest thing for me is just everyone in the office is always pushing everyone around them to do better and to be better. And I mean, even if it's just a day where for whatever reason, if I'm not just feeling it or I have something going on at the house, I'm getting calls from people at the office saying, hey man, where are you? Where are you? Why aren't you in the office? And if I give them some excuse, they're like, do you have enough money to use that excuse? At the end of the day, it's, nope, I sure don't. And the
culture.
The culture here is incredible. We do the meetings, most days at 12 o'clock and, it seems like they always come at the perfect time too. It's like as soon as my foot's like starting to come off that gas pedal, here comes Chris with some of the most inspirational thing I've ever heard in my life, and it just gets me pumped up and ready to go back at it.
Thank you. I just try to scare the shit out of you, and see if you do.
You do it with facts. It's all real. It's all truth, and it's been a blessing. I don't even know what other brokerages are like. But when I get on the phone with another agent, when I'm just doing some calls and I happen to come across an agent, I start talking about our brokerage and they're like, really? They do all that?
Yeah. Well, you got to have a pulse. I think that one of the benefit about the meetings is that if I have a very good pulse of what's going on, it's very easy to have a conversation. If I had no clue what was going on, if I hadn't sold real estate, in a long time, if I wasn't around everybody in the office at all times, doing things and problem solving, then you wouldn't really know what to be having a conversation about. Many times I'll spend time creating a meeting and then the next day I just have this overwhelming feeling about certain ideas and thoughts that I know the agents are thinking about, whether it's problems, whether they're having so much success that now they're taking their foot off the gas, which happens sometimes, right? Or man, nothing's really working out. And then I'll just go, bam, in 10 minutes, I'll create an hour-long meeting because of that pulse of what's happening. And so that's why I'm always walking around asking everybody questions. I'll text you, I'll call you. Hey, how you feeling about this? What's going on with that? What's the biggest problem that you're having? And then we can just, we already know the answers to these problems, right? And so it's not rocket science. It's just sales. There's a numbers game aspect to it. It's all about mindset. It's all about your skills. It's all about the strategy, and it's all about the execution. And anything that diverts us from those 4 items is not going to get us where we want to be.
Exactly.
Right? So thank you guys for saying those things. Now, when it comes to selling real estate right now versus maybe 2 years ago when the market was just on fire, if you took a listing 2 years ago and you were on the way of putting your sign in a yard, by the time the sign went in the yard, you had people chasing you down trying to buy the property. Things have changed a little bit. The market's still strong for sellers, but what we had was such an abnormal market in the Houston area where we had less than a month worth of inventory each and every single month, which is insane. And now there's about 3 months of inventory. There's a little bit more cushion on there, but it also means we got to do a little bit more work in order to service those clients at a high level. And we're seeing there is a lot of expired and terminated listings, and a lot of for sale by owners from people who listed with an agent but didn't get the right results, and they're like, man, he didn't do anything. I could do a little bit of something and maybe sell it myself, right? And so what we're finding out is that a lot of agents maybe took listings 2 years ago, but they really don't know how to actually sell them when the market is not as hot as it was. So my question, starting off with Alex, is, what has changed regarding what it takes to get a listing sold versus 2 years ago, and like, what are you doing about it now?
Well, you stated the obvious, things are taking a little bit longer to sell. And when that happens, we also have to, if they want it sold in a very timely fashion, we have to price it extremely competitively. B, sometimes we can price it along the lines of what the comparables are stating. And when we get together, if I notice there's quite a bit of a range and it could be a little unpredictable, then I feel at this point my job as an agent is to let them know, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're predicting, this is the range that we're looking at based on what we're seeing, and to continuously communicate with them regarding the feedback, regarding the other sales. Right now I'm noticing more than ever I'm having to watch the neighborhoods like a hawk for all the listings I have, so that my sellers are able to be aware of the different things that are transpiring in the neighborhood. And sometimes, at that point, we have to make some adjustments. If, let's say, they and their neighbor were listed at the same price, their neighbor ends up actually selling at, say, 20,000 under, at that point, we have to get together and discuss what the next step is with the price and other factors.
Yep.
And so basically what I'm just noticing is I'm having to do a lot more research and have a lot more communication with the sellers, and constantly check in with them and see what their thoughts are and what they would like their next decision to be based on all the information they've been given. And now they're just getting a lot more information, because before it was, oh, look, we have 10 showings today. Let's see what our offers are.
No doubt. It was a lot easier. It was still hard to get a listing because
Yes.
a lot of people were refinancing, and they were just like, we're going to stay put here because prices are starting to go so high that if we downsize, we're still spending a lot of money. Might as well just refinance. So it was still hard to get the listing. But then selling it at that time wasn't hard. Right now, it can still be hard to get a listing because people don't want that new interest rate. At the same time, it's harder to get the listing sold. And you think it wouldn't be the case that, like, I hire a real estate agent. This person is going to keep me constantly informed of the competition within the neighborhood, quarter mile, half mile, similar properties. But agents really fight confrontation. They're so worried and concerned about what the seller is going to say in response to them, educating them, the agent educating them, and probably get them to change the price. But we know what happens is that if the home is not selling, and it's on every website known to man, and you're spending hours a day prospecting for buyers, you're doing whatever it takes, and other homes in the area are selling, there has to be a reason why. So that's enough of a reason to have a conversation. And you may need to talk to your clients every 2-3 days, maybe every day, 2 days, depending on the location, to identify what's taking place. And if they really want to be the next one that sells, we may have to make some changes, right? Agents really don't want to have those conversations. They're not used to having those conversations. They're definitely not trained on how to have those conversations. And then you'll see a lot of agents who they go away from taking listings because they just didn't know how to sell them because they listed at what the seller wanted, as far as a price. But we know that, like, if the seller wants 500, but the comps are clear that it's, $100,000 less, it's not going to sell for $100,000 more, right? And so we have to really gain, some understanding on the perspective, right? What about you, AD? Ashley, what's happening in terms of, like, the difference between if you had a client 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, versus right now that you have to do in order to make sure it sells?
Yeah, I think you did say that too. Like, sales is not just like getting the listing; it's like how to articulate, how to communicate with your client. If in the case that you do have to do price adjustments, that you can say it where you can, not to a point where it looks like it's for you, it's really for them as well.
Yeah.
And
Great way to
you
say
guys, you guys have a great way of teaching that, because before that I'm just like stumbling on my words. I don't know how to say it, but learning that as well and being intentional throughout the whole process. Because if you let the dust settle on your listings and you forget about, now you actually have to reach out to all the agents. Like, what do they think about the showings to their buyers?
Yeah.
Can you get them to put in an offer, even maybe if their client was slightly interested, but something was wrong with the house, like, can you make adjustments for them to put in an offer?
Work for it.
Yeah, I gotta work for it now for sure. And then even when it gets under contract, now you're like, you can't just, okay, let's talk to title maybe once every other week.
Yeah, because something could happen.
Yeah.
Something can happen. You know, when it comes to having that conversation, most agents, when they think about dropping the price, they may only talk about it every month or every month and a half, every 2 months, and they do it in a way where they're not asking questions. They're saying, you know, Mr. Seller, it's been on the market for 45 days. It hasn't sold. We need to drop the price. The seller's like, I haven't talked to you in 40 days. Like, I don't want to just drop the, like, even if somebody has to sell, quite often they don't want to sell or drop a price just so that you can get a contract and get a commission. You know, they want to make sure that the person they're working with is looking out for their best interest. So it's as simple as going, hey, Ashley, you know, what time today can we go over all the analytics of what's been taking place in the last 2-3 days or in the last 7 days so we can make an educated decision moving forward to make this home sell versus the next home, right? And then you have that time with them and you go, hey, look at these 9 properties. Look at these 4 or 5 properties that sold and went under contract. Let's look at the prices. What's different about their home versus our home? We need to start identifying, if we were a buyer, would we be buying these other homes instead of ours? Or would it be the other way around? They must be going under contract for a reason if ours isn't. And so can we identify what that change that we need to make is, make that change today so we can get that difference, or get that different outcome tomorrow, right? But people are not, they're not conversation specialists like we talked about in that one video I did for ProAgent Prospecting Masters, right? And since they're not conversation specialists, they're not that good at coming up with powerful questions that can initiate the positive response from your client to make that change, right? Now, for you, you're only 5 months in, so it's not like 2 years ago you have, you know, what do you think when you hear about people going, man, 2 years ago, if you took 5 listings, they would sell in 5 minutes? You know, what are your thought process on that?
The first thought process is maybe I should have got in a little bit earlier than I did. But I think it's also promising that I came in at a little bit harder of a market. I was able to work harder on becoming the agent that I need to be in order to service people at a high level now. You know, I didn't come in where it was easy and you could just throw a listing up there and it's done. Like from the get-go, we had to work with our clients and make sure that we're providing the highest level of service possible and get things done for them and make sure that they know exactly what's going on in the market, what it's realistic, what's not realistic. And, the way me and Erica have it set up, every time we take on a new client, we give them a schedule of, we're going to be talking to them every single week at this time, at this day. We're going to be giving them a call. We're going to give them every information, how the showings have been going, what the feedback has been, what we've been doing as far as marketing tactics, how we've been reaching out to people, and just give them a very detailed description of what all is going on behind the scenes. That way they know we're not just sitting here waiting for someone to show up at the door and tell us, hey, we want to give you some money.
No doubt.
We're trying to make sure that every client that knows exactly what's going on behind the scenes and they're getting detailed updates every week. So.
Now, for your clients that were not expired, to them, they go, this is how it should be done. But the portion of business that all 3 of you have that come from expireds or for sale by owners, they're probably pleasantly surprised that the process that they've been put into now with the professional runs way differently, and you can have different expectations, because before I feel like a lot of the clients feel like they're kind of like not really in the loop on things so much. Mm-hmm. And I've met with clients in the past, right? When I started prospecting, I went crazy with for sale by owners. And most of these for sale by owners had worked with agents in the past and they didn't feel like they were worth a commission. And a lot of them had been expired listings previous to going for sale by owner. And I remember meeting with so many clients that were like, we had to move, we would have liked to move, and I know that we needed to drop the price, but the fact that my agent only called me every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks, we didn't even want to make sure the home sold with her after about 2-3 months, because we didn't think she deserved the commission. The commission was going to be X amount of dollars. And even if she's only getting half of that commission, if she's giving half of her commission away, or he's giving half of his commission away, to them they're like, it's a $500,000 house. This is $30,000 in commissions. I don't want this person making that money, because they didn't really work for it, right? If they know that you're talking to them 1, 2, 3 times a week, you're studying the market, you're really being that advisor that they're looking for, they feel very educated, this is what they're paying you for. And they go, man, this is why we're working with Ashley, Steven, or Alex, right? But most agents don't put those things together, and that's why you see a lot of real estate agents just promote trying to work with first-time home buyers because the average agent hasn't even bought any real estate themselves. And not saying you have to buy real estate in order to sell real estate at a high level, but since they haven't bought real estate and they're not being trained at the right level, they're trying to work with people that know less than them, right? And then what happens is you're trying to work with a certain segment of people in the marketplace, but and we definitely would love to all help first-time home buyers, but a strong production business is going to be based around getting listings. And if you're looking to take a lot of listings, yes, some are going to come from your COI, some are going to come from past clients, but a good portion is also going to come from people that don't really like agents right now or are looking for an agent that's actually going to do what they said they were going to do. Selling real estate only takes like a few different things to execute, but you find that most agents really don't spend their time executing those needed things to get the needle moved and to get the property sold. And right now, like even for you, how many deals so far where you have to sell the home 2 times? 3 times?
Quite a few of them, yeah.
So, you get 1 commission check, but the deal fell through 2-3 times. You got to get back on the horse and get the thing sold. You guys know that stuff, right? And so that's something else that's a lot different about the market. If that happened 2 years ago, you go, good. Now you can get 10 more thousand this month. We were under contract for 40 days. Now the market was just moving so high and so up, right? But that's what was taking place. Let's see, the next question I have for you guys on here is, Alex, what are you finding that buyers and sellers are looking for in an agent now more than ever?
More than ever, I think buyers and sellers are looking for an agent who actually knows what they're doing, actually has competence and confidence, who is able to solve their problems. More than anything, I think, when you're watching the news right now, some things can sound very discouraging, and I think a lot of times buyers and sellers just want someone who has the competence, experience, and expertise to be able to actually give them what they want.
No doubt. Well, I posted this the other day, a lot of agents don't even know the market stats. And so what happens is you find agents going, the market's bad, no homes are selling. I've heard agents go, man, no homes are selling. Dude, there's thousands of homes that are selling. And with having about 3 months of inventory in our market, and there's probably a lot of markets around the United States with around 3 months of inventory, that's still a strong seller's market. When I first got in the business, the average home was on the market for like 9 months. There was homes on the market for 400 days. Now you see that every once in a while, you're like, what's wrong with that house? That was a common thing. 2012, 2013, the market had crashed in '08. It was starting to kind of pick up a little bit, but the confidence in people wasn't where it was at. Now, like Stephen, I didn't really know better. I knew better just because, our family had been in the real estate industry, but I wasn't like a practicing real estate agent for the most part, right? And so when I got in, I didn't know it was bad. I didn't know that it started getting better 13, 14, 15, and then everything was going a lot better. But agents don't understand what it's like to have, hey, the average home in this neighborhood sells in 7 months. They need to check today. And so you can imagine that thought process. And then now we had this crazy market, 2021, all that kind of stuff. And then agents feel like it's a hard market now with 3 to 4 months of inventory. And it's not bad. It's really not even bad. Now, certain parts of Houston may be different, meaning maybe one area geo-market of Houston, just like anywhere around the United States, maybe there's low inventory, right? Maybe in another neighborhood, it's still a seller's market, or a different area, it's still a seller's market. But then you go to another part of town and there's only 3 homes selling in that subdivision a month, but there's 27 active. Then that one is clearly a buyer's market, right? So it's also knowing like what kind of property am I going to and how can I showcase what's actually happening for this client versus them just thinking, okay, well, the market and the news is saying this, so it has to be the case for me. It actually may be worse than what you thought it was. It also may be a lot better what you thought it was, right? And sellers will go, oh man, it's a bad market, I'm waiting. Man, 7 homes sold in the neighborhood last month. If those 7 homes could have sold in the last month, what's stopping your property from selling? So it shouldn't be so hard. Now, Ashley, what are you finding right now that buyers and sellers are looking for in an agent based on your experience with your current clients that made them pick you versus all the other agents that they were talking to?
I think it's just having extreme confidence. And then because the news is so bad, like you need someone that's in the field every day to tell them news is not what it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, you got to tell them like what's actually going on, and then we can get you to what you want, your goals. And if you're not in the field every day, you're not doing what you're doing, how can you confidently tell them that, right?
No
So
doubt.
I think that's
They can feel that
major.
confidence, right?
Yeah.
They can feel that confidence for sure. And, you know, I think the news is, you know, they're going to make their money, get all their attention on the negative news, right? And so the positivity is not really going to come through. But you being in the trenches, you know exactly what it takes to get a property sold, makes a world of difference. And the fact that there are people selling a lot of homes right now should give all of us the confidence to sell a lot of homes. And a lot of sellers being able to sell their property should give other sellers the confidence to sell their homes. We just got to be able to sit down with them and go over what's going on so they can make the right decision, right? What about you? What are you noticing right now that, you know, the sellers are looking most from you versus, you know, I guess you've only been doing it for 5 months, so maybe it's kind of the same, but just in a clear sense, what do you feel like they're looking for out of you more than anything else? Why are they hiring you?
I think Ashley hit it right on the head. It's the confidence. It makes a huge difference, and they're definitely looking for someone that's a little bit more informed, someone that kind of knows what's going on. They kind of know what it takes. You know, I get into conversations all the time, and me being a new agent, it's kind of surprising, but there's been a ton of phone calls I've been on where they're just at the end of it, oh my gosh, you are so knowledgeable. Oh my God, you're the best agent I've talked to this whole process. I'm like, these people don't realize I'm still super fresh. But
Yeah.
But I work on, you know, my skills. I work on, you know, making sure that I sound competent and I know what's going on, and I have a good plan of action. And once they hear that and they feel that I think that's 100% what they're looking for. Someone that really they can truly believe that can get this thing done for them.
Well, I think that when the market was going absolutely batshit crazy, people could hire a brand new agent, their cousin, their sister, their brother, anybody who got their license, and they really didn't second guess if that person could do it because just there was this energy about how the market was so strong that sellers could almost pick their price and get it in 2 minutes, right? Now it's like, can we hire that person that doesn't sound so competent? Can we do those people favors? Because they kind of felt like they were giving agents lotto tickets, right? But now now the sellers still expect fast results. They want a piece of what had happened in the past, right? But now I think they're going to second guess hiring somebody that may be newer. So I think you're going to find a lot more people that go, well, we want to hire our niece, or hire our cousin, hire our brother. You ask, well, how long have they been in the business for? You don't have to be negative about it, right? Like, oh, why do you want to hire family? There's a lot of great objection handlers that you could use for family or friends that they could be working with. But at the end of the day, if somebody was to tell you, you know, we want to use my uncle, we want to use my cousin, he just got his license. Well, maybe instead of them just using the uncle, you know, why don't you work with a strong agent that can show your uncle exactly how it's done now that he has his real estate license, and then we can make sure he gets paid in the process. I think there's going to be a lot more of that can come about, where if somebody wants to hire somebody that doesn't have as much experience as maybe one of you three, well, how can you really help those people out? If you come from that angle of just servicing, hey, let me show that guy how to do this job. So the next 5 homes you buy with him, he knocks it out of the park. But this first one could be pretty damn risky if it's not done right. It's a different market than it was 2 years ago. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. You know, do you need to have that confidence in order to get this thing sold this time around, or do you really want to, you know, put this thing to chance, right? And in reality, you know, how are you going to feel about your uncle or your cousin or your niece if she doesn't do what she says she's going to do? You know, and the problem is that most of these agents, they get in the business and they go work for a certain brokerage or a certain team or whatever the case may be. Maybe they have a 1-week training in a month, but then the next 90 days, it's just them trying to figure out what they need to be doing. Nobody shows up to an office. Nobody shows up on Zooms. Nobody does any of those things. And then just imagine the lack of confidence that's kind of pouring out of them. And you could even see, because a lot of times maybe their social media stuff almost looks desperate a little bit, right? The way they post things looks desperate versus if they were just in the trenches like you guys are each and every single day, you know, they definitely would have to overcome a lot of fear and get out of their comfort zone. But the amount of confidence that they would just kind of have on a phone call or in person would just be out of this world. And that one difference right there gives the sellers the confidence, you know?
And I bolster up the pro agent group on a lot of calls I make too. I'm able to utilize you guys tremendously when it comes to just selling us as agents. You know, you're not getting just a single agent. You're getting a whole team of agents that are going to be working together to make sure everything gets done right.
No doubt. And we have agents that will bring a listing in and the other agent in the office has a buyer for it, or they'll buy it, or whatever the case is. There's so much opportunity there, right? man, it's just happened so much. And so, with ProAgent, one of the biggest positive things is that if everybody kind of knows what everybody else is doing, then it kind of just gives everybody the advantage. For example, if you know that we're selling hundreds and hundreds of expired listings and you talk to somebody, right? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would you be more confident working with an agent after your home expired that has not that much experience in selling properties on the list side at a high level? Or would you rather work with a group like us who have sold hundreds of expired listings just like you in the last 12 months? Is that the kind of confidence that you're looking for going into 2024 with this listing, right? How would you feel if in 30, 60, 90 days you went, ouch, I made the wrong decision, and there was less competition on the marketplace then versus in the future, and now you left money on the table and you didn't get the results you were looking for? How would you feel at that point in time? Let's go ahead and just do the right thing and get together for 15 to 25 minutes, go over exactly what it's going to take to get the property sold. And if you feel 100% confident in me at that point in time, you can sign the contract and we can move forward, right? Because I just think that's just the way it's going to be. So next question on here is, this is going to be the wrap up. I think we've probably been doing this for about an hour, and I know I can go for 3 hours on this thing. Alex, what are your production goals for the year? And what's the number one? I'm making these people be pretty vulnerable in this last one. What are your production goals for the year? And what's the number one thing you still have to change now in order to get exactly where you want to be?
Well, I want to close a minimum of 36 deals this year.
Okay.
As far as what I need to change, what was the question? What do I need to...
I think you probably already made some necessary changes, which is helping you with the momentum. But what's that number one thing right now that you feel like I still got to kick in order to ensure the success that I'm trying to have?
I still struggle with wake-up time. I still struggle with time management and following my schedule.
Expressive problems.
Yes.
Right? And so what's the number one way you can combat that, like moving forward after this podcast? I think she's done a good job because she hated it too, but there's something about how she made that decision this last time that has kind of put it in stone and put it in concrete for her to not have to go backwards. What do you feel like has to happen?
I'm going to have to get back to you on how to answer that.
Okay. We'll help you with it. It's okay.
What I have noticed, though, is that waking up earlier has gotten easier for me than it used to be.
Good.
And I'm waking up earlier and earlier on my own, but I find that because it's been such a struggle for me, I always used to say I'm not a morning person, blah, blah, blah. I think that, I've had 30 some odd years of telling myself I'm not a morning person. And so sometimes I think I'm just having to combat that story that I've told myself for so long.
Great response. What's really funny, Alex, is that the thought that came to my mind is how am I reinforcing the fact that I'm a morning person versus battling that identity that you're talking about? Because when you say that, everyone, I hate waking up in the morning, and you're still not waking up late. We're talking about waking up at 5 in the morning. That's a struggle. Waking up at 7:30, 8 o'clock is not that hard to do, right? We're talking about waking up early enough to where you really have a leading edge on everybody, right? And you're able to build momentum off of that, right? And so it's great that organically you just came up with going, hey, I probably need to watch what I'm telling myself. And so now for the next 12 months, I need to be saying the opposite of what I've told myself the last 30 years, right? And I think if you just continue to keep telling yourself, like, I'm a morning person. I love the mornings. I love having that leading edge on everybody. I love winning. I love getting up early. I love smelling, being up before the sun rises. I love getting sweaty and get that blood pumping in the morning by running around the block or something, right? Like, you have to, even if you hate those things, you only hate those things because you're just like keeping that identity going by reinforcing it and saying it. And it's easy to say it. It's easy to go like, well, that kind of, waking up pisses me off. And then, you just you feel like you have to kind of keep being that person, right? So I wanted to state the 5 o'clock type of stuff because, it's not like it's 10 o'clock in the morning type of stuff. It's just, and also you come from different backgrounds sometimes of like you've played in bands, you've been a musician, you've done construction, you've done all these other things, and maybe those things allowed you to do things differently, right? When you're a musician, you're going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning versus, waking up at 4 in the morning. And so a lot of those things help reinforce those bad habits because we're not saying the right things to ourselves. And you can't keep telling yourself you're a winner and not become a winner as long as you're taking the right action steps, right? So that's big. And 36 transactions is big. If your average price point is where you want it to be and you multiply that by 36, man, what a big year in 2024 that's going to be. And 36 is going to get you that much closer to 50 and 60. And I know that you have big goals for yourself. And this is kind of that year that you got to show yourself who the hell you really are, right? For you, Ashley, what are your production goals, and what is that number one thing right now that you're like, I gotta eliminate in order to make sure this thing happens?
I would say I want to push myself to get a listing a week. I feel like 52, but
She already got 3 to 10 days.
Hey, we're on the right track. We're on the right
start.
track. If I could get at least close 30, I would say that's a pretty good ratio.
That'd be
52
amazing.
listings, close 30.
You go into the next year with a good amount of actives coming in from November and December, pendings coming in from November and December. That's going to help you go and say, all right, well, I'm coming into the year with 10 to 20 deals.
And
So
then
now if I go find me the same amount of deals that I found last year or more, now I'm finishing off with possibly 50, right? So like, how crazy is that?
would be amazing.
Yeah.
New level unlocked.
I think the big thing for you is just starting to accept now that that's going to be the reality.
Yeah.
The faster you can accept the reality of that, the faster you can just become that, right? Like in reality, there's nothing stopping you but that limited mindset at times, right?
Yeah.
When we think like, 50, because when I said 50, her eyes like looked a certain way, right? She's like, well,
People are doing 150 on their own. I mean, that has to be.
Oh my gosh.
It's possible
Oh
for
my
us.
God. There is some people.
It is possible.
There is some, that stuff excites me. Sometimes people go, oh, I did 200 deals this year by myself. And some people may not want to do 200 deals a year by themselves. But trust me, the income that person's making, the ability to provide at a high level, do whatever they want to is very, very, very high, right? But agents will go, oh, I would never want to be that agent. I just like having one client at a time. No, that's a limited mindset, right? Anybody, everybody's trying to get to the restaurant that has a line because it's worth it, right? The service is worth it. The food is worth it. When you go by, a restaurant and nobody's there at 12 o'clock, but one car,
fishy.
something's fishy, something's going on, right? And so that's not really what the consumer is always looking for. Yes, they want the time. Yes, they want your attention. They want high quality service, but they get to see that when you're working with a lot of people. Getting listings is going to find you more business. It finds you more buyers. It finds you more listings. You take a listing in a neighborhood, it's easier to go get 2 or 3, 4 more in that same neighborhood because somebody else has already trusted in you, right? And so for you right now, it's just going, 50 is going to happen. Let me focus on 30. And the great thing is, because at Pro Agent, we're going to stay on top of your numbers, stay on top of these ratios. And each month, each quarter, when we do a mid-year review, you may be in a position where it's like, dude, I'm already going to do past 30. Versus creating a business plan and then putting it in a drawer and forgetting it for the rest of the year. We're going to make sure as a group and as a whole, we're staying on top of these things, because if we can actually make those goals go higher, that's going to make it even extra exciting, right? And this is the season right now of just building as much inventory as possible, because as these rates go down a little bit, you're going to want to be the one with the inventory. Mm-hmm. You don't want to just start getting inventory at that point in time, right? So it's going to be amazing. What's your production goal? What are you and Erica's production goal for this year? And then the second part of that is, what's the number one thing right now you still got to make a change on?
So our production goal when coming into the year was 25. And we're going to see how the rest of this month and next month go. But I think we're going to be making some adjustments to get that number a little bit higher.
Yeah, if you take 15 listings or 10 listings, 12 listings in the first 2 months, you're like, okay, I think I can.
Yeah, I think we'll bump that number up. But I think the number one thing that I'm working on in order to get myself to that next level is just finalizing and actually maintaining my schedule. We've got the schedule built out. It's just a matter of executing it and following through on it and not letting anything deviate us from it. I think we're creatures of habit. We need to start building those habits.
No doubt. And that's why, like earlier when she was saying that I'm constantly, you got to like execute your schedule at 80% or more. That's why you want to constantly be gauging how much of this hour did I actually do at a high level. If I was supposed to role play for an hour, but I role play for 30 minutes, I got to put an X next to that hour. If I did it for 55 minutes, an hour, I put my check. Hey, I'm supposed to prospect this hour for an hour, right? Did I do it for a full 55 minutes or did I do it for 25 minutes? Well, am I giving myself an X or am I giving myself a check? And if you have 10 items throughout the day or whatever that number is, and you can say that, hey, I can check off at least 80% of these things, you're going to do amazing. But what most people think, I'll go, hey, what percentage of the day do you think you're actually executing? And they'll go, man, I'm doing like at least 75, 85%. But then if I go through their schedule with them and I ask them some in-depth questions about each 30-minute or every hour segment, they start to realize that they're really only executing at 20%, 35%, 45%. So how about the listeners on here who really don't have a schedule printed out for each individual day that goes from them waking up to going to sleep? What's the chances that you're really gonna, execute anything at a very high level if you're just winging it all the time? This is a business. This is a sales business. If you're trying to wing it, in most cases, those wings aren't gonna take you too far. You know what I mean? So good little whatever that is to finish this up. We'll wrap this up. ProAgent Podcast. If somebody wants to find you, where can they find you at, Alex?
They can either add me on Instagram as Houston's House Hunter. Make sure you include the S after Houston at Houston's House Hunter. You can find me on Facebook under Alex Hunter or facebook.com/Houston's House Hunter.
Wonderful. What about you, Ashley?
Ashley Deep _.
Ashley-
Ashley Deep _.
Ashley Deep _. Is that on Instagram?
That's on Instagram.
Okay.
That's pretty much on everything.
Fantastic. You feel like you use Instagram the most?
I probably use Instagram. If you want to call me, you got someone to look to a house to buy or sell, 832-289-1523.
There you go. What about you, Steve? I'm getting Steven on his Instagrams and Facebooks now.
I've got to get on it. You can find me on Facebook, Stephen Berry 2. It's spelled PHAN. I know it's kind of weird. Or
Stephan. It's Stephan.
Yeah, to make it easier, just think Stephan Berry 2.
Yeah.
Or a little bit easier of a name is Erica Berry. You can find either of us and reach out to us. We'll get you going on anything. And same thing, you need to call me, 832-257-1056.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the ProAgent Podcast. We're going to be pumping out a lot of more of these. Hope you got a lot of valuable content that you wrote down and you can put in action for yourself. We hope you have a great day.